My fiancée, Sophia, ended our relationship on a rainy Thursday evening. We had shared a life for 6 years in the apartment I bought, and she had the courtesy to do it in person, though that was the extent of her consideration. She guided me to the expensive leather sofa I'd saved for months to purchase and delivered a speech so polished I could almost see the cue cards in her mind. "Liam," she began, her voice a practiced blend of sympathy and resolve. "I love you. I truly do. You are a wonderful, kind man. But I'm not in love with you anymore. Something has been missing for a long time." I remained silent, watching her. I'd felt the distance growing, a chasm I couldn't bridge no matter how hard I tried. She took my silence as permission to continue, to land the final, brutal blow. "The truth is," she said, looking at me not with malice, but with a clinical, almost surgical pity, "I'm just not attracted to you anymore. I've had an epiphany about what I need. I need a real alpha, Liam, a dominant force, a man who takes what he wants, a natural-born leader." The insult was so direct, so condescending, that it bypassed anger entirely and went straight to a cold, clarifying clarity. "I am a quiet man. I've never been the loudest voice in a room. I don't feel the need to dominate conversations or posture for position. My strength has always been in my competence. I build things that work. I solve intricate problems. As a lead structural engineer at our firm, Atlas Global, I design the frameworks that hold everything else up." I had foolishly believed Sophia saw that as strength. Clearly, I was wrong. She saw my steady quiet as a void, my calm assurance as passivity. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I simply waited because I knew there was more. She mistook my stillness for stunned defeat. She confessed that she had already found her alpha. His name was Carter. For context, Sophia, Carter, and I all worked at Atlas Global, a prestigious engineering and architectural firm. I designed the bones of our skyscrapers and bridges. Sophia is a senior client relations manager, the face that soothes nervous investors. And Carter is the head of business development. He is the living, breathing caricature of the word alpha used without irony. He wears tailored suits that cost more than my car payments, has a laugh that can silence a restaurant, and is a master at selling dreams and promises on a PowerPoint slide. He's all surface, a magnificent facade with questionable foundations. Sophia gushed about Carter's ambition, his unstoppable drive, and then she revealed the true heart of her betrayal. For the last 3 months, a monumental position had been open at Atlas, Vice President of Integrated Operations. It was a C-suite adjacent role, a colossal leap designed to unify the technical, client relations, and business development wings. The new VP would be the undisputed boss of all 3 departments. With a smug excitement she didn't even try to hide, Sophia told me that Carter was the shoo-in for the position. She admitted she'd been secretly helping him for weeks, feeding him confidential insights from the client relations side, crafting his strategy presentations, using my own casual dinner table talk about project limitations to make his pitches seem miraculously comprehensive. She was his inside woman. She saw his ascension as their joint launch into the stratosphere. They were going to be the king and queen of Atlas Global. As she laid out her entire plan, detailing my inadequacies and his glorious future, I just sat there. When she finally finished, breathless and self-satisfied, I looked directly into her eyes and said, in a voice so level it was almost alien, "I understand." She seemed taken aback by my lack of emotion, but quickly chalked it up to shock and acceptance. She said she needed a few weeks to find a new place. I just nodded. Here is what she did not know. While she and Carter were plotting his coronation, the upper echelons of Atlas had been growing deeply skeptical.
The CEO, a shrewd old-school engineer named Arthur Walsh, had seen Carter's type before. They dazzled in the boardroom, but their plans often crumbled when they met the unyielding reality of physics and budget, leaving my team to perform minor miracles to prevent catastrophe. A month prior, Arthur had called me into his corner office overlooking the city. "Liam," he said, sipping his black coffee, "this VP role, it needs more than a salesman. It needs an architect, someone who understands the load-bearing walls of this company, not just the pretty wallpaper. The board is leaning toward Carter for his flash, but I'm leaning toward you for your foundation. I'm offering you the job." I was hesitant. I love engineering. I love the tangible feel of creation. The thought of leaving my drafting table for a world of politics and profit margins filled me with dread. I asked Arthur for time to think it over. I hadn't mentioned it to Sophia because things were already strained and I didn't want to add a layer of professional competition to our personal problems. My careful deliberation, my desire to make a logical choice, the very core of who I am, was what she had just written off as a lack of ambition. But now, after her speech, after being called weak and having her new alpha paraded in front of me, all my hesitation evaporated. To decline now would be to confirm her entire warped narrative. To accept was the only form of self-respect left available to me.
The next morning, I walked into Arthur Walsh's office before anyone else had arrived. He was reading a technical report, his glasses perched on the end of his nose. "Liam, everything all right?" "Arthur," I said, my voice firm, "if the offer still stands, I accept." A wide, relieved grin broke across his weathered face. "Best decision this company has made all year," he boomed, standing to shake my hand. "The official announcement will go out in a company-wide email Monday at 9 a.m. Welcome to the leadership team, son." I spent the weekend in a state of serene focus. Sophia was busy packing, humming to herself, her phone constantly buzzing with messages from Carter. On Sunday evening, she had the audacity to try and comfort me. "Don't look so glum, Liam," she said, patting my arm. "I've already spoken to Carter. Once he's VP on Monday, he's going to make sure you're the lead on the new North Star Tower project. He really does value your mind. He knows you're the best engineer we have." I met her gaze. "That's very thoughtful of you, Sophia." Monday morning arrived with a heavy, inevitable stillness. Sophia was vibrating with excited energy, detailing the extravagant celebration dinner she and Carter had planned at the city's most exclusive restaurant. As I was knotting my tie, she leaned against the doorframe. "You know, Liam, you're a brilliant engineer, truly, but you lack that killer instinct, that commanding presence. Watch Carter today. See how he owns a room. You could learn a lot from him." I finished my tie and looked at her reflection in the mirror. "I'll be sure to pay close attention." We took separate cars. I arrived at my desk, cleared out my personal items from my engineer's station, and prepared for the tectonic shift to come. At 9:01 a.m., the soft ping of 100 email notifications echoed through the open plan office. I didn't need to look. I watched Sophia. I saw her click open the email, her face illuminated by the glow of triumphant expectation. I saw her eyes scan the first line, "Atlas Global is pleased to announce the appointment of Liam Thorne as Vice President of Integrated Operations," and I watched as the triumph curdled into disbelief, then horror. Her blood drained so completely she looked like a marble statue. Her hand flew to her mouth. She read it again and again. Then her head snapped up, her eyes frantically scanning the office until they locked onto mine. I held her gaze, my expression neutral, unreadable. The calm certainty in my eyes shattered her trance. She shot up from her chair and stormed across the floor, a hurricane of rage in a pencil skirt. She stopped at my old desk, her fists clenched white. "What is this?" she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. "Is this some kind of sick joke? How did you do this? You stole this from him." Heads turned. The office was utterly silent. I slowly rose to my full height, looking down at her. I kept my voice low, forcing her to lean in to hear me, a subtle, powerful reversal. "Sophia," I said, my voice calm but carrying. "This is not the time or the place. My door will be open this afternoon for professional discussions. We have a departmental sync-up in Conference Room A at 10:30. I expect to see you there, ready to present your Q2 client retention projections." The flush of humiliation burned across her cheeks. She had come to confront her meek, discarded ex-fiancé and was instead being publicly chastised by her new boss. She stood there, utterly deflated, before turning on her heel and fleeing back to her desk. The fight at home that night was explosive. She called me every name she could think of: a snake, a manipulator, a pathetic man who had schemed to humiliate her. I let the storm rage until she was spent, breathless and crying. "I didn't do this to you, Sophia," I said calmly, pouring a glass of water. "I did it for me. You were very clear about what you value. You wanted an alpha, a leader, someone who takes charge. You made your choice based on a very narrow definition of strength. It seems you simply bet on the wrong man." I took a sip of water. "You're right about one thing, though. The dynamic has changed. It is no longer appropriate for you to live here. This is my home. I need you to find a new place. You have 1 week." The fight left her body, replaced by a dawning, terrifying comprehension of her new reality. Her alpha had lost. Her dream of power was ashes, and now she was homeless. The following weeks were a masterclass in poetic justice. My first act as VP was to convene a project review of all major initiatives. Carter's pet project, the Aether Plaza, was the crown jewel of his pitch. A soaring, impossible glass structure that Sophia had relentlessly championed with her clients. Carter presented with his usual bravado, all slick graphics and astronomical ROI projections. When he finished, he looked around for applause. "Thank you, Carter," I said. "The vision is certainly ambitious. However, I've reviewed the geotechnical reports for the proposed site. Can you pull up slide 12, the subsurface soil analysis?" He fumbled with the clicker. "As you'll see," I continued, addressing the room, "the water table is significantly higher than your foundation plans account for. Your design requires pilings to be sunk 40 feet. At 32 feet, you hit saturated, unstable silt. The lateral pressure calculations are off by a factor of 20%. The foundation, as designed, would fail within 5 years. This isn't a proposal, it's a liability." The room was dead silent. Carter stammered about revised reports and new surveys. "There are no revised reports that change physics, Carter," I said evenly. "The Aether Plaza project is suspended indefinitely. Sophia, please reallocate all your client relations resources to the more structurally sound Harborview development." I had dismantled their shared dream in front of everyone, using nothing but cold, hard facts. Their next moves were desperate. Sophia tried to play the victim, complaining to colleagues that I was creating a hostile work environment. It backfired. The engineers and architects who formed the backbone of the company respected me. They'd been cleaning up Carter's messes for years. Her complaints only made her seem petty and unprofessional. Then they tried sabotage. A key algorithm in the building management software I'd personally designed for the Harborview project was subtly altered one night. A change meant to cause a slow, catastrophic systems failure weeks later, discrediting my work. It was a clumsy, desperate act. I discovered the anomaly the next morning during a routine check. I didn't say a word. I simply went to the IT security logs. Every change is tracked, time-stamped, and tagged to a specific terminal. The alteration was made at 11:23 p.m. from a workstation logged into with Carter's credentials. I had him. Cold. I didn't confront him. I scheduled a meeting with Arthur Walsh and the head of HR. I laid out the evidence, the logs, the code comparison, a summary of the millions in damages and potential safety issues his sabotage would have caused. I presented it not as a personal grievance, but as a dire case of corporate espionage and gross misconduct. The reaction was swift and merciless. Carter was called into a meeting and presented with the evidence. He was terminated for cause on the spot and escorted from the building by security. The black mark of being fired for sabotage is a career-ending sentence in our industry. The investigation inevitably touched Sophia. While there was no proof she was directly involved, her intimate relationship with Carter and her documented campaign of complaints against me painted a clear picture of a toxic alliance. She wasn't fired, but she was effectively neutered. She was transferred to a satellite office, tasked with managing minor accounts for long-term clients who rarely called. Her career was over in everything but name. The fallout was complete. Carter, toxic and unemployable in the city, moved across the country. Sophia lasted a miserable month in her new purgatory before resigning quietly. I heard she moved back to her hometown. As for me, I am thriving. The department runs with an efficiency it never had before. Respect is earned not through volume, but through vision and integrity. I built a foundation for success, and it is unshakable. Sophia was right about one thing. She said she needed an alpha, but she was looking for a mirage, a loud, preening illusion of strength. She failed to understand that true strength isn't about the noise you make. It's about the silence you command, the structures you build, and the quiet, unwavering confidence that comes from genuine competence. She went searching for her alpha, and in the end she found one. She just never realized he was the man she had left standing quietly in the ruins of their life.